If you're like me, and you're watching this video, at some point you may have wondered, just where in the world did Cheetos come from? Reading the ingredients list doesn't get you very far. What's maltodextrin? Is it used for malts? How about powdered cheese? Is it made from powdered milk? Keep watching and I'll tell you how it's done. Like most food processes today, it begins with corn. Corn is pressed in an expeller, and through the use of constant heat and pressure, the oil is extruded through small holes while the seed pulp is discarded or used as animal feed. Once the oil has been extracted, it's treated with hexane or another solvent. And once it's been treated, it's heated up to distill. The solvent is boiled off and recycled. The oil itself still has a ways to go though. Before it can be sold to factories and consumers around the world, it must first go through a process known as degumming, where it's treated with an alkali, and then through a process known as winterization, where any waxy products are removed from it. Then it's bottled and shipped around. Now, oil may be critical to the production of Cheetos, but cheese is in the name. And where would cheese be without cows? Everyone knows that milk is needed to make cheese, but what they may not know is two other critical ingredients are required as well: bacteria and something known as rennet, which are the enzymes from the stomach of a young cow. When mixed properly, the ingredients separate into curd and whey. Curd can be pressed into blocks of cheese, which of course everyone can recognize, while whey is used for many other processes, including concentration and isolation. We'll see more of this isolated whey later. The powdered cheese in Cheetos is made from both the cheese and the whey. The ingredient that makes up the most of the Cheeto by volume is the enriched corn flour. And while corn flour has been around for millennia, the enrichment process is a relatively new phenomenon. Corn flour is combined with a trio of B vitamins: thiamin, riboflavin, and niacin, known as B1, B2, and B3, as well as iron sulfate. The product is known as enriched corn flour and gives Cheetos both its crunch and characteristic internal yellow color. Not all of the color in Cheetos comes from such a wholesome source as corn. In fact, the cheesy orange color on the outside is derived from oil. First, oil is taken to a refinery, where it's purified into several petrochemical byproducts, one of which is an orange crystalline solid that is extremely toxic, known as Sudan 1. And of course, you might be thinking at this point, Sudan? Isn't that a country in Africa? And you're right, it is. And Sudan 1 is so toxic that Sudan the country asked that its name be changed so that no one would associate the chemical with them. Sudan 1, when treated with sulfuric acid and heat, becomes yellow 6, a harmless food coloring. The powerful and addictive taste of Cheetos comes from a combination of the cheese powder and monosodium glutamate, which is synthesized by corniform bacteria that are fed a combination of ammonia and sugar. They create glutamate, which is then treated with salt, which becomes monosodium glutamate, also known as MSG, E621, hydrolyzed yeast extract, glutamic acid, and even natural flavors. The slight tanginess of Cheetos comes from a combination of lactic acid and citric acid, a pair of hydrocarbons that are produced by fermentive bacteria that are fed sugar. Citric acid is found in all living creatures, but was first discovered in citrus. Maltodextrin is the right-handed isomer of glucose. It's derived from cornstarch, which is treated with enzymes that break the alpha-1,4 glycosidic linkages that hold the starch polymer together. The human equivalent of the enzyme that does this metabolization is known as amylase and can be found in saliva. Maltodextrin is basically sugar, but they give it a fancy name to hide it in the ingredients list. Now that you know where the ingredients all come from, it's time to know how they're put together. First, gritty cornmeal is kept in a silo at one of the 14 factories that Frito-Lay's owns that produces Cheetos. Then, it's pumped through 100 feet of pneumatic tubing to something known as a hopper, where it's mixed with water and becomes a slurry. The slurry is fed into an extruder which has two large metal plates that rub back and forth. The friction and pressure of the metal plates creates heat, and as the temperature rises, the boiling point of water is reached and the corn pops out the other end into a hot oil pan. The oil serves two purposes. It gives it a fatty taste, and removes most of the moisture down to 2%. This makes Cheetos crunchy. The cooked Cheetos are then put into something that looks a lot like a cement mixer, known as a tumble drum, and strategically placed nozzles squirt the Cheetos with the cheese mixture that contains the glutamate, whey isolate, lactic acid, citric acid, maltodextrin, and cheese powder. The Cheetos are then bagged up and are ready to be shipped around the world, from silo to bag in less than 20 minutes. Delicious. The sources cited can be found in the video description. Thank you for watching.